Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about something new from Paul Carnazzo at Mental Voyage, something he calls leisure or leisure. It's either one of those. Either one of those. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for spending some time with me today. So as you can tell, today I'm kind of set up. I have actually a virtual show that will be happening in just about an hour or so, and I thought, I've got some time, so I thought I'd quickly squeeze in an episode of the show for you. Now, if you do hear a lot of boomy noises in the background every now and then, I do apologize. It is the work of nature. Alright, there's a storm brewing outside, so I do hope that it clears up before my show begins as well, right? Because otherwise there'll be a lot of, booming and stuff which I'd rather not have. So really quickly, on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you about something from Paul Carnazzo, something that he calls leisure, alright? So it's a new, one of those new pocket mentalism cards that he has in his series, right? If you have any of his cards, you know that they're all pretty much designed like in the same way, from the National Institute of Parapsychology. So Paul has really kindly sent this to me, but he has also sent me quite a number of cards in the past, right, which some of which I bought previously from like years and years ago when they were first released. This is lexicology. I've talked about lexicology before on a previous episode, but this is something that I got quite a lot of use out of previously, right, when I was kind of still doing mingling and mix and mingle table hopping kind of performances. So I got quite a lot of use out of this. This is lexicology. This one is called Dream Weaver. Okay, I do carry this in my wallet, all right, currently. So this is a dream-based kind of a reading kind of an effect, which I quite like. Again, I've talked about this on a previous episode, so you can have a look at that episode if you'd like to find out more. Recently, he's also sent me something called a depiction. Okay, this one I quite like, but I've not gotten much use out of it yet. I've performed it just a handful of times, casually for friends and family, but I've not used it much, and I think it's just because I don't really perform close up anymore. All right, but this one is kind of like a drawing duplication kind of an effect. So yeah, depiction, do check it out. It again is one of the National Institute of Parapsychology. It's really hard to say. The National Institute of Parapsychology test cards series, all right? But today I'll be talking about this one. This one again designed in pretty much the same way. I'll just show it to you briefly, okay? This one is called leisure. So what is leisure? Well, it's kind of like a word review, mind reading kind of an effect. So if you are familiar with lexicology, all right, the effect is quite similar. Method-wise, they also kind of share a number of similarities. Okay, so let me just describe to you briefly what happens in a performance of leisure. So to introduce the effect, you bring out the card and you involve actually two people. You could involve a third person, okay, but that's kind of like an optional phase at the end. So the main effect is where you show the card to the spectators. They can have a look at it, on both sides. There are like 24 words, on one side of the card. Okay, I won't show you the words that clearly, all right, because that forms kind of part of what you're buying. Okay, so you show them the words, and through a little quick process, you have two of them think of two different words on the list. So from here you can proceed and reveal what they both are kind of thinking of, but it's not the kind of reveal where for example, it's not going to be like oh, you are thinking of Rubik's Cube. It's not that specific, okay? It's going to be a little bit more kind of an impression feeling kind of a reveal, okay? So you can do that, all right, just using that first phase with both of the spectators. So they both think of a word from the list, the card is just put away, and you can do this kind of a mentalism-ish review for both of them separately, and you will get hits. If you wanted to get more specific, all right, as in kind of get the exact word that they are thinking of, once they have the words in their mind, you can then kind of turn the card to the back and have them kind of think of another word each from two of these lists on the back. Okay, and from here, you will then be able to nail the exact word that they are thinking of. So you can go into any of those kind of, reveals that mentalists like to use, right? Think of the first letter, oh, how many letters are there in a word? That kind of a reveal. So it's going to be a spot-on reveal if you do include the second side of the card. I mentioned earlier you can involve a third spectator, and the way that's done is, once you have the two spectators, think of something from this list, they then kind of think of another word from the second side. You can have a third spectator think of a word from the third list. Okay, so there are three lists on the back. They can think of one from the third list, the card goes away, and you can kind of reveal all three of the words. All right, kind of. I mean, for the third spectator, it's going to be a little bit like the first side, okay, with the first two spectators. But yeah, you could kind of involve multiple spectators that way. So what do you get when you purchase Leisure? Well, it comes in this little envelope, all right, as with most of his, Pocket Mentalism cards. And there will also be a download link, all right, for a PDF. So in the PDF, Paul will take you through the handling, all right, he'll explain exactly how to perform the routine. And then, of course, you will get the card itself. Now, all the cards are now made in this kind of a plastic kind of a material. So they're really going to last you like a really long time. And I don't even think the printing like scratches off. It's not that kind of printing, right? So they will last you really, really long, as long as, they're just kept in your wallet, right? So they hardly get handled at the most, they just remove, spectators look at the cards, or they can kind of briefly handle it, and then you take it and put it away. So it's not going to wear out, I think. So some people have questions, as with, with all of these kind of tricks, right? There are questions, and the two most common questions I get asked about this kind of routines, right? The first question is, can the cards be inspected? Okay, so if you know lexicology, okay, again, this is really closely related to lexicology. So if you know lexicology, I would say, well, when you first introduce the card, you can kind of hand it out, all right? They can look at it, right, on both sides, and they are not going to like see anything suspicious, I think, on a cursory kind of a viewing, because at that point no effect has happened yet. So I don't think they're going to be like on the alert and look out for specific things. So I would say before the effect is performed, you can hand the card out. They can look at it just quite casually on both sides, and they will just see that, oh yeah, all the words on the card are different. Once you have performed the effect, okay, then I don't think I would take out the card again and have them look at it. Okay, because I think that might kind of give the method away somewhat, okay, especially if they kind of start to spot certain things. So that's the first question, can the cards be inspected? The second question I get asked about this particular kind of effect is, can the effect be repeated for the same audience? Now, I've mentioned before, that I've never really understood this question, okay, because when I'm performing, for friends or family or even professionally, right, I never get to like repeat an effect, okay? So to me, that's not like a concern, but I do understand, some people would like to know that, so for this particular effect, I would say the answer is no. Okay, so you can't use the exact same card, Leisure, to perform again, all right? If you do wish to kind of repeat the effect somehow, I suppose you could kind of, and this is not like a plug for Paul, right? But it is something you can do, because you can get some of his other cards, right? Lexicology or Depiction, which are like two of my favorites, and you could perform another test with these cards instead of going into the same one, right? Because you're going to reveal the method if you do the same one again. So when it comes to the difficulty on learning how to use this card, it's going to be really, really easy. Okay, the method for this one is easier, I think, as compared to lexicology. Okay, lexicology, I think for the third phase, there is a bit of memory work involved. Okay, but for Leisure, there's hardly really any memory work. I think there are like only 3 things you need to kind of memorize, and commit to memory. There's a bit of a script that you don't really have to memorize. I mean, you can kind of just write and create your own, I think, and that would in fact serve you better as opposed to trying to use brute memory and try to memorize everything that Paul tells you, right? So memory-wise, it's really easy. Just 3 things to get in your head, and you can perform the full routine already. And also, as with lexicology, there are also the ESP symbols, all right, I hope you can see that, across the bottom of the cards as well, all right. Lexicology also has that, okay. You can do a kind of, Banachek style ESP symbol kind of a reading as well, all right. So that's there if you need it. There's the circle, triangle thing at the corner as well. You could make use of that if you'd like. But yeah, that is basically what leisure is all about. Just a kind of a closing thought on the use of leisure, right? I mean, depending on how you wish to present this particular thing, if you do use the second side of the card, instead of just kind of doing a mind reading thing, you could, all right, do a prediction kind of an effect, okay, of like the final word that the spectators kind of think of, all right. Or you could just kind of do a review of one of the words and then save the other one as a prediction of some kind somewhere. Or you could use that word to start a mental epic sort of a routine, right? Because there's one element that is kind of known to you. Alright, but all in, I like this, in fact, I kind of prefer this now than lexicology, alright? And I'll briefly explain why. As I mentioned earlier, lexicology, there's a bit of a script involved for like the end part, okay, of the effect. So, keeping this in your wallet, after a while, if you don't kind of review it or revise it, you can kind of forget, right, the scripting necessary to perform the effect. But for leisure, all right, there's really no script to kind of memorize word for word. So I think this, for me, at this point in time, because I don't really perform this sort of material very often now, if I just kept this in my wallet, it would be really easy to just pull it out, have a brief look at it, and I already know what I need to know to perform the effect. So that's all I have to say about leisure. I'd like to thank Paul over at Mental Voyage for sending this to me so that I can chat about it with you guys on this show. If you'd like to pick up a copy of Leisure for yourselves, I will leave the link in the description box down below. Alright, so that's all for today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching today's episode and I hope you got something out of it as well. Till the next episode, do stay safe, take care of yourselves, have fun with your magic and mentalism, and I will see you on a future episode of Nique Chats. Time to get ready for my virtual show.